What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. It's finally Friday for a lot of you guys who've been working all week. Probably excited to get to the weekend, but we have one more day of Newswave before then, so let's get started. Real quick, before we get to the big story of the day, I want to quickly talk about something we talked about yesterday with the Lawbreakers game designer talking about the Switch not having as many buttons as like the Xbox One or the PS4. Well, I think they recognized their mistake because they took to Twitter with this tweet right here. Pretty straightforward, just says, yep, we know it shows a Switch Pro controller, a PS4 controller, pretty much saying, yeah, it's the same number of buttons, our bad. And I'm fine with that. It's really not a big deal. Clearly it was a mistake on the game designer's part, who maybe is not super familiar with the Switch. And I think they understand that it was a bad excuse, and that's essentially their apology, saying, hey, we're sorry. But I think everyone got their jokes in about that. We're pretty much all moving forward from it now, but at least they acknowledged it, and it pretty much it's closed up now. Now let's talk about the big story of the day, and that has to do with Facebook and Oculus. Now, of course, they've been trying for quite a while, despite a lot of legal trouble, to bring Oculus to, I guess, the mass consumer. That's why we've had like stations set up in Best Buy to try to get people who are kind of walking by to try it out, because right now that's how you get people into VR. You get them to try it out, and it's tough when they don't try it out, because then they have to take your word for it when they see something that's like $500 or $600, and then they need a computer, and they need to know how to set it up, and it turns into a whole thing that a lot of people who don't want to be inconvenienced don't want to go through, and that's understandable. It looks like Facebook kind of gets the idea here, because they are apparently working on a VR headset that may solve this issue. And this report came from Bloomberg Technology. It's a website based around, well, technology. And in this case, they reported that from several sources, Facebook is planning to unveil a $200 wireless Oculus VR headset next year, and they'll be unveiling it in October, according to them. And you see wireless, and you go, okay, well, it's wireless. It's just going to connect to a computer. Well, in this case, the headset will be the entire system. There's nothing else for it to connect to other than maybe when you plug it into the wall to charge it. So this makes a lot of sense, because there are several tiers of customers that you target. You don't just target one or the other. You try to target all of them with different products. That's why you see different types of iPhones, ones that are cheaper, ones that are more expensive. That's why I saw like the iPhone SE come out. And that's why I see all different brands of cars, because some people want cheaper devices. For example, in this case, the Oculus VR that's coming out for $200, where you don't need an $800 computer to run it, possibly over $1,000. In this case, you buy the headset. It's going to have a Snapdragon ARM processor, according to them, and you just put it on and use it. Now, it will not have, and this is very important, I think a lot of people are missing this, it will not have positional tracking. And what that means is it cannot detect where you are if you, say, put it on and start to kind of walk around with it. Your character will not move in the game if you're playing like a VR simulation game. You will have a controller that you move them around with. And for some people, that might be a bit of a deal breaker, but I think they are targeting this product to be for something where you sit on the couch and you watch a movie with it, or you browse Facebook, or you go through Daydream, or there's a lot of apps that you can use that would work well with it that don't need positional tracking. But keep in mind, if you want positional tracking, you do have to step up to the more expensive Oculus Rift for that to happen. But again, that's not who this is for. If you're selling someone an Oculus Rift where it has positional tracking, they're also buying, say, a very expensive computer to go along with it, and they have the know-how to figure everything out. This is going to be for somebody who doesn't want to have to strap their phone into like the Samsung Gear VR, for example, or turn on a computer. They just want to put this thing on, it'll connect to their Wi-Fi, and then they can browse Facebook or watch Netflix or anything like that. And it's smart to target that audience, because that's the audience that does not want to spend a ton of money. $200, I think, is a good price, considering the Gear VR was like $130 or something now. I've seen it at Walmart the other day. It was like $130, and you still need a phone. Whereas this, you'll just buy and you just have it. Here's the interesting thing, though, going forward. Something that Qualcomm, with their Snapdragon processors, they're trying to figure out is how to implement positional tracking into the processor chipset itself. So this device, even at $200 going forward, as they kind of refine it and make, obviously, the second one, the third one, eventually it probably will have positional tracking at a very aggressive price. This is a price that a lot of people have not attacked in this this VR world. Usually you need, like I said, one or the other. You need to get like a cheapo cardboard, for example, Google Cardboard for 15, 20 bucks, put your phone in it. I like the idea of not having to use your phone and this being its separate device. I'm not sure how well the consumer will figure out right away that you don't need anything else other than this headset. It's going to be up to Facebook and, of course, Oculus to market it as such and just try to get the word out and then push them out the door at something like Christmas time of 2018, where I think they could do it. But I'm curious, your take here is, do we need to get closer to the VR are just like glasses like these, and that's it. You know, you put them on, and it doesn't even need to connect to a computer. Everything's built in. Is that the future we need for VR to even work for a mainstream item? Because that's going to be a while. Or do you think something like this, where they target maybe the cheaper price point, maybe with not the best parts, like I'm sure the screen resolution won't be great, is that the best way to do it right now, is to just give them something that's affordable? You don't need to play with wires or anything crazy, and it's just easier for the the common person to understand. Let me know, guys. I'm really curious on this. After that, we had a slew of smaller announcements. We have Gran Turismo Sport now with a release date. It had a trailer come out earlier yesterday, and they gave us a release date of October 17th and October 18th. Those would be in the United States, and then in Europe. That's maybe time zones. I'm not sure why it's one day and then the next. All we know is October 17th and then October 18th. So if you've been looking forward to a simulation racing game from the Gran Turismo line for your PS4 that is up to date, well, you don't have to wait much longer. October is coming, and then who knows if they add something like PlayStation VR support going forward. That could be kind of cool. Next up, we had Ni no Kuni 2, which hurts me inside to see this, but it's getting delayed till 2018, and it's going to be a couple months now until it comes out. We were coming up on its original release date, and now it's getting pushed back further, which, again, I really like the first one, and I want to play the second one, and now it's on the PC, which is great for anyone who wants to, I guess, max it completely at 4K, although I have a feeling the PS4 Pro should be able to max it at 4K because it didn't look like the most demanding game, the first one anyway, but I like the art style, I like the gameplay, and I really want to play the second one. We're just going to have to wait a couple extra months. You know what, if it's not ready, I've said this before, if it's not ready, don't release it. The worst thing in the world you can see is a game that is broken beyond belief. We've learned this now with Mass Effect. I think developers even saw the entire debacle from Mass Effect, which they've been fixing it, by the way, after release, after they sold it to you. So I have no problem with them fixing it. They showed up on Twitter, the creator did, and said, look, it's not ready yet. We want to make sure. And they gave us one other kind of disappointing announcement. No multiplayer. No, there was a mix-up at E3 where he kind of talked about multiplayer. It was just part of the online events that they're going to have. There is no multiplayer in Ni no Kuni 2, which may disappoint some, but it's an RPG. I think most of us will live with it. Sounds like they'll just have like online events that get announced and kind of worked into the single player game. Next up, the new 3DS, the one in Japan that's almost like a 3DS XL but normal size, like the normal 3DS, that a lot of people actually prefer because of the portability and because the screens are not stretched. That 240p image looks better on that screen, the smaller one, than it does on the blown up 3DS XL. That line, though, is being discontinued. It sounds like they're doing that to make room for the 2DS XL coming up. There's only so much production floor you can do, obviously, in their factories, and I guess they were like, well, let's get rid of the new 3DS because it was a limited release in the United States and won't even affect us over here. And yes, it sold well in Japan, but the 2DS XL at $150 is probably a better deal. Although I still get a little frustrated with the screens being so stretched, but at $150 for the 2DS XL, and it comes with a charger, unlike the 3DS XL, not a bad deal, and I understand they kind of had to pick and choose what they're going to be producing. It looks like they're going with the 2DS XL, and the 3DS XL, and of course the Switch, so they've pretty much made up their mind. Also, we did get the Media Creates charts. That, of course, shows us how everything sold, depending on weeks, in Japan. And in this case, the PS4 along with the PS4 Pro together have remained at the top of the charts alongside the Switch. You'll see them here. The PS4 and the PS4 Pro combined sold for $29,771 with the Nintendo Switch behind it, $26,256, and the 3DS right behind there, $14,890. And the Xbox One having probably one of the worst weeks I've ever seen at 72. It's pretty clear, I think, at this point, the Switch is still constrained supply-wise, and I hope Nintendo has a plan in the next week or so, even probably right now, for Splatoon 2 to have at least double that in stock. I would expect them, if they can really make it happen, to get 50,000 Switches minimum out that week for Splatoon 2, because it is going to be a massive seller in Japan. I want to see what the number is for Splatoon 2 sales when it comes out, because they are going to go crazy over there for Splatoon 2. Speaking of games, let's take a look at a couple of the games that were also shown in Media Creates. suits. So the big one, as you see here, is Gundam Versus at 121,000, which sounds like a lot, but with there being over 4 million PS4s in Japan and Gundam being a pretty popular series over there, you would actually expect that to be higher. So I feel like they are slightly disappointed in that number, but it still could sell well throughout the following weeks. That could be one we see in the charts for a while, for months even. Just like how Nier seems to always show up in these charts randomly for some reason, I could see Gundam Versus sticking around in these charts for quite a while. And it's again, they're not happy with the number, I don't think, but who knows where it'll end up. Maybe it does end up as a 1 million unit seller. Overall, it was pretty much a quiet week, I think, on the Media Create chart, other than Gundam Versus, and the PS4 and the PS4 Pro still kind of sitting at the top. If you divide them, though, obviously the Switch outsells them, but it's still considered, according to Sony, as one product. So that's the way it goes. Like I said, I'm going to be very curious in the next a week or so. It's going to be a week after, obviously, to see what happened when Splatoon 2 came out and if Nintendo really was able to get that surge of stock in Japan or not. And in our last bit of news, if you're looking for something to do over the weekend, come spend it with me on Saturday when we watch D23's presentation for Kingdom Hearts, Battlefront 2, and Spider-Man. Now, D23 is Disney's big convention that they hold every year now, and it looks like they're going to have a nice little hour block carved out for a stream, and apparently there's a big announcement coming for Kingdom Hearts 3. And this was mentioned in a press release telling us that yes, Spider-Man, Battlefront 2, and then special news of some kind will show up for Kingdom Hearts 3. And a lot of people are trying to figure that out. Some people are like, well, maybe, I've seen this, maybe it's a Switch release. I don't know about that. I think they're going to announce a new world of some kind. Something like, maybe they'll actually bring Star Wars in to the Kingdom Hearts universe. I don't know how happy people would be about that. Maybe they bring Marvel in. There's a lot of, honestly, a lot of intellectual properties that they own that they can merge with this game, considering Kingdom Hearts takes place in different worlds, that they can conveniently, transport to. So they could do that. I think a lot of people would love to see you face off against someone like Darth Maul in Kingdom Hearts. That would be crazy. Or maybe you end up with a lightsaber somehow in that world, because of course your Keyblade may change to something like a lightsaber in that world. There's a lot of cool things they could do. Or maybe you fight alongside the Avengers at one point. I don't know. Special news could really mean anything at this point. All I know is I will be watching this when it goes live, and it's going to be live from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. Pacific time tomorrow, Saturday, that would be 4 to 5 my time, and I'll live stream it. We'll have fun. We'll watch it. I'm hoping it's a good time. Battlefront 2 looks fun. I really just want to see Spider-Man and of course Kingdom Hearts 3 right now, because those are my two. Those are on the top of my list currently. And that's it for Newswave today, guys. Make sure you comment, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Let me know what you think about any of the stuff we talked about today, whether it is this interesting idea for Oculus and Facebook to try to come up with a cheaper headset for the mainstream to kind of latch onto, where you don't need a computer and you could buy it for $200, put it on, and really surf the web, I assume, watch Netflix, things like that, play simplistic games. Is that the ticket to get VR off the ground? Because currently now, I think a lot of the mainstream sees it as kind of a gimmick still. Also, let me know what you think about this Kingdom Hearts special news. Is this something to do with a system like the Switch, or is this something to do with a different world that they have not shown yet? Maybe pulling in someone like Marvel's Avengers, or maybe pulling in Star Wars. I think it's going to be a new world, and I hope it's really neat, and I hope it's something away from Disney. I hope it's something other than obviously their Disney stories that they have, something more along the lines of a Star Wars. That'd be great. That's it for now, guys. Have a good weekend. I'll see you next time.